Hello there and welcome to another live chapter reading for Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Today I shall be reading from The Magic Carousel, Book 1 of the Brass Ring series by K.L. Small. Chapter 1, One More Ride. 5th grade stinks. I could hardly wait for school to end and summer to begin. I dropped my warm backpack on the floor and kicked it. The social studies test with the big red F across the top slid past the broken zipper. Another failure, just what I didn't need. A nearby hot water heater gurgled and hissed. I flopped on my bed and with my hands behind my head looked out the narrow window near the ceiling. The window that didn't open. A battered garbage can outside blocked my view anyway. Before Grandpa came to live with us, I had a natural bedroom on the second floor with 2 full windows. Now my fire truck posters were nailed to the wood studs of the basement's unfinished walls. The edges of my posters were curling in the damp air. The basement always smelled like sweaty socks. Over a year ago, Dad promised to build me a room down here, but that never happened. Russell, Mum's voice carried down the stairs past the washer, dryer, hot water heater and furnace to the back corner of my makeshift bedroom. Grandpa is waiting for you to take him to the park. I sat up and stuffed the social studies test back into my backpack. A kid couldn't even get a break after school. Russell Michael Boyd, did you hear me? Yes, Mum, I'm coming. Blazes every day with the same thing. Take Grandpa to the park, keep him safe, come right home. I like Grandpa, but couldn't we do something different sometimes? I grabbed the red cap from my bedpost and traced my finger along its embroidered emblem. Uncle Ethan called it a Maltese cross, the firefighter symbol. He had given it to me, the junior firefighter cap, when we visited the fire museum 3 years ago. I put it on my head and tugged on the bill the way Uncle Ethan did. I'll be a firefighter one day. I raced up the stairs 2 at a time. Grandpa, I'm ready to go, I yelled from the top of the steps. In her blue scrubs, Mum stood at the doorway to the kitchen. You know I need you to take Grandpa every day after school. I shouldn't have to remind you all the time. But Mum, why can't we walk around the block or up the street? Why do we have to keep going to the carousel? Because he likes riding it. She gave me one of her patient smiles, the one that acted like she was sorry when she clearly wasn't. Otherwise, she wouldn't make me go. I shoved my hands in my jeans pockets. I feel like I'm Grandpa's babysitter. I love my Grandpa, and with his far-fetched stories, the late afternoon walks were never boring. But a kid shouldn't have to do this every day. Why did I have to keep him safe? He was a grown-up. Shouldn't he have been keeping me safe? I was only 10 and I couldn't do anything right. My lanky grandfather strolled into the kitchen, his rubber-soled walking shoes squeaking against the wood floor. I wrinkled my nose. He had put on too much woodsy cologne again. Grandpa grinned at me and patted my back. There's my red-headed Russ. Have fun, you two, Mum said. She leaned closer to me and I caught the lightest whiff of baby powder. Keep your grandfather safe and come right back home. I'll get your dinner ready before I go to work. Oh, we will, Grandpa winked at me. There's always an adventure waiting. Let's go, Russ, my boy. I rolled my eyes at Grandpa. Always said things like that. As if walking to the park and riding the carousel was some incredible challenge. In Grandpa's world, there was always an adventure. In my world, I was trying to stay away from Tyler, the bully who was ruining my life. If Tyler saw me in the park with Grandpa, I would never hear the end of it. A light breeze rustled the bushes in front of the old homes on the way. It was almost summer in upstate New York, but cool enough that I still wore my hoodie. Maple trees arched over the sidewalk, and sunlight glinted through the spring leaves. I made a game of stopping on the bits of sunlight hitting the pavement, but we walked so slowly that it was easy to avoid the cracks and land on the sunny patches. Grandpa was telling another of his impossible stories. I glanced at his shuffling feet. If we walked at my regular pace, we would have been to the carousel by now. The sooner we got there, the sooner we'd be done, and maybe Tyler wouldn't see me babysitting Grandpa. Did I tell you about the time I rode in the Kentucky Derby? Grandpa asked. Without waiting for an answer, he continued. My horse was the favourite to win. Boy, was he excited to race. When the horses came out on the track, the crowd cheered. What a sight to see. We were ready to run for the roses. I shook my head and then looked at Grandpa's 6-foot frame. Blazes, Grandpa, aren't you too tall to be a jockey? Grandpa cleared his throat and stopped at the corner, checking for traffic. We can cross now. You know, Russ, your mum doesn't like you using that word. Blazes, Uncle Ethan says, I know what Ethan says, but he's a grown man. And a firefighter, I smiled. Uncle Ethan used lots of words and phrases Mum didn't let me say. Grandpa stepped off the curb but stumbled. I reached out to steady him, but Grandpa waved off my help. Have I told you about Sergeant Reckless, the Marine horse in the Korean War? As we walked across the street, I looked at him skeptically. No. The bombs were exploding overhead, sending fireballs into the sky and shooting shrapnel everywhere. Grandpa waved both his arms in a sweeping arc over his head. The Marines at the top of the hill needed more ammunition for their recoilless rifles. A single shell weighs almost 25 pounds. The only way to get them up the hill was to load them on Reckless, the little pack horse. I put 4 shells on her back and sent her up the hill. That little mare went all by herself, even with the explosions and gunfire going on all around us. As I faced him, the strings at the neck of my hoodie swung wildly. I didn't know you were a Marine. Grandpa sure was full of surprises. He cleared his throat again. Well, Russ, my boy, let me tell you, that Reckless was quite a special horse. She was a genuine hero. I sighed. I knew better than to ask more questions. Grandpa always avoided giving a full answer, especially if the question was one about one of his stories. And he always talked about the horses like they were people, not just animals for riding. Horses have been an important part of our history, Grandpa said. Do they teach you about them in school? Don't make me think about school. The F on my social studies exam was a painful reminder of the string of failing grades. Quickly I changed the subject. Hey look, there's the Carousel. I pointed in the direction our path followed. The faint tune of the band organ reached us, getting louder as we approached. The Carousel sat in the lower part of Balmoral Park, nestled in a wooded area close to the baseball field. A rich business leader had donated the Carousel to the community over 100 years ago, with the condition that no one ever paid to ride. When school was out for the summer, the Carousel bustled with visitors, but now, only a few days after school, kids played in the park. A grey shingle roof covered the pavilion that housed the 4 rows of horses, posed in different positions of running, jumping and standing. Bright yellow lights and colourful pictures of wild animals decorated the rounding boards at the top of the Carousel. Polished metal poles and rods gleamed in the lights above the wooden platform. A fence surrounded the attraction with an entrance queue and an exit gate. A few parents stood outside along the fence. The Carousel slowed and the cheerful notes from the band organ stopped. Grandpa increased his pace, rushing towards the entrance. If we hurry, we can get on it before it starts again. You never know where the next ride may take you. That's okay, Grandpa. You go ahead. I'll wait there. I pointed to a red bench across from the Carousel entrance. Grandpa nodded and pressed his hand to his chest and tugged at a black cord around his neck. With a chuckle, he hurried towards the Carousel in his old man shuffle. I adjusted the cap on my head and plodded to the bench. After sitting down, I slumped lower, afraid someone from school would see me. Kids my age didn't ride the merry-go-round, yet here I was watching Grandpa act like a first grader. The Carousel turned slowly, picking up speed while the band organ played a lively tune. Little kids waved to the parents, who laughed and waved back. Grandpa waved too, but I turned away, my cheeks burning in embarrassment that my white-haired grandfather was like those little kids. I sighed and lowered the chin to my chest. When I looked back at the Carousel, I groaned. Grandpa was bent forward like a jockey, swinging his right arm as if urging the horse to go faster. Shifting my position on the bench, I peered around to see any of my classmates or weird by. Hey, Russ boy, the teasing voice came from behind me. My shoulders sagged. It was Tyler. We used to be close friends until my disastrous birthday party. That's when the teasing and name-calling started. Now, Tyler was making 5th grade miserable. I hope you enjoyed the chapter reading and that you'll go check out the book. Thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye.